everyone, it's Dan from Goadster, and this is the first of a series of videos that's going to take a look at the Xbox One and the PS4 and put them head to head. One thing we're not going to do is just make one big long video and tell you which one you should buy at the end. We're going to look at each aspect individually, and you can make up your own choice at the end of the series. So, as you probably guessed from what's in front of me right now, today we're going to be looking at the controllers. As you can see, I've put the PS4 and Xbox One controllers next to the PS3 and 360 controllers, just so you can see how they do differ. The PS4 controller obviously is much more different to the PS3 than the Xbox One is to the 360. So let's start with the Xbox One controller. Layout wise, it's very similar. The big difference between the two is you've now actually got a D-pad that isn't garbage on the Xbox One. The 360, it was absolutely terrible, but it's much better on the Xbox One. It's still not brilliant, but it is a big improvement and a big step up. Size-wise, they're almost exactly the same size. The Xbox One controller is slightly smaller, but there's really not a lot in it at all. The big difference is, whereas the 360 controller, you had a big battery pack sticking out, they've built it into the Xbox One controller this time. It just makes for a nicer design, and it's a bit nicer laid out on the back there. Instead of the start and back buttons, you've now got a menu and view buttons. Doesn't really make much of a difference at all. It's just more of a clarification of what each one does. Onto the PS4 controller, the differences are a lot more apparent. You've got the touchpad on the front and also a little speaker. These have been used in quite a lot of games at this point. It's fairly tacked on, fairly gimmicky still. I'm sure somebody will find a great use for them. As of yet, it's just the normal stuff that you'd expect. The speaker works a lot like a Wiimote, where some games will just pump extra audio through them. So, for instance, Killzone, audio logs that you pick up, they actually come through the controller rather than through your TV. Slightly different. Doesn't really add to anything, but it's nice to know it's there at least. Also, if I turn the PS4 controller over, you'll see the light bar on the back. This is used with the PlayStation camera, and it's used to track the controller across the screen, much like the PlayStation Move. It can also be used to show things like how much health you've got left, so if you're about to die, it turns red. Doesn't make a great deal of difference, but if you are in a dark room, it's quite a cool little effect for the games that use it. And instead of the start and select buttons, you've now got an options and share buttons. Options is just your start button, doesn't really do anything different at all, and we're not really going to the share feature in this video because that will have its own one in a couple of weeks. Anyway, let's start comparing the controllers to each other. First thing you notice when you pick them both up is the shoulder buttons don't quite sit right. This is something where you'll adjust your grip, and after a couple of days you just won't notice it anymore. It's because they are slightly different, and change is big and bad and scary. Analog sticks, there were quite a few reports when the consoles launched of the Sony analog sticks tearing. I've not experienced anything, and I've racked up hours and hours with this thing. Between the two, the Xboxes are definitely better. They definitely feel more durable. The PlayStation ones do feel like they will wear down over time and certainly aren't going to last until the end of this generation. The D-pad on the Xbox, as I said earlier, is greatly improved on the 360 controller. However, the PlayStation 1, it's just as good as it was on the DualShock 3, and it is still the much better D-pad to use. Battery life, the PlayStation 4 controller, I've been getting about 5 hours out of it. It's considerably less than what I'd hoped for. The Xbox, on the other hand, I've been getting about 20 hours. Xbox claimed 30, but it's nowhere near that, but still it is much better. One big improvement at least is both controllers will actually charge when connected to the consoles in standby mode, so the consoles no longer have to be on, which is a very welcome change. One big positive for the PlayStation 4 controller is it does have a built-in lithium battery. The Xbox One controller, however, runs off of AA batteries straight out the box. You can get a play and charge kit, but that is an extra £20. Both come with headsets packaged in the box with them. The PlayStation 1 is like just a little earbud with a microphone attached, not dissimilar to a pair of iPhone headphones, obviously with Sony branding, and there's only the one headphone rather than the two. The Xbox One, it's very similar to what you got bundled in with the Xbox 360. You've got this massive module that fits on the bottom, which allows you to control the volume and mute players, which is very nice. However, the big advantage that comes with the PlayStation controller is you can plug any mini jack headset straight into that and fiddle around with the settings just a little bit on the console, and as soon as you plug a headset in, you can actually choose to have all your audio routed straight through to your headset. So if you've got people in bed that you don't want to disturb, plug a set of headphones in, bang, you're good to go. The Xbox One has now got a converter that you can plug in the bottom that will allow you to plug any headset in. But once again, if you want that, that is going to cost you extra money. And this is where the Xbox controller, when you compare it to the PlayStation 4, it does fall down quite considerable. So, on to price. The PlayStation 4 controller comes in at £45. And the Xbox One controller comes in at £40. However, if you are a heavy gamer, you are going to be spending a lot of money on AA batteries. So you are probably going to need a battery pack, which is an extra £20. And if you want to use a headset that isn't the Microsoft approved bundled in one, you're going to need the adapter as well at another £20, bringing the cost up to a whopping £80. So overall, both have strengths, both have weaknesses. However, there has to be a winner, and unfortunately, some flaws are just bigger than others. So whilst the Xbox One controller is asking if you'd like fries with that, the PlayStation 4 controller is the all-inclusive package.